Hello and welcome to LatinX Learners. My name is Daniel.
I'm Michelle.
And we're so glad that you joined us for our next episode. Today we're going to be talking about cultural capitals. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the subject and how we got into this episode?
Yeah, absolutely. At first, I wanted to welcome our special guest, Allergies. Allergies are with us today because we live in Houston. If you live here long enough, that becomes your special friend. So forgive us as we sniffle our way through this episode. So cultural capital, that's the idea that we are or are not exposed to a higher culture, a culture of money,
Okay.
of affluence, of access.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
So the arts, the great books, things like that. When you understand references to the arts, the great books, paintings, when you get that, when you know who Baudelaire is, when you know who Gauguin is, right?
Yeah.
These are names that I know in my head. One is a painter and one is a writer. I know that, right? But that's what it is. And so for first generation students of poverty like we were, at what point did we feel that we had cultural capital?
And really think about how did we gain the cultural capital, right? And think about the cultural capital we had elsewhere, right? In other areas of our lives.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
right? And then how through higher ed your cultural capital shifts, right? Like what gives and what gains and where are there some net losses? Yeah.
So I have a funny story.
Okay.
On cultural capital. When I was little, 8, living on West Washington Street in Brownsville, the lady across the street, Linda Arteaga, she was white, but her husband was Mexican. They had 4 boys, Anthony, Austin, Aaron, and Adam.
Hi, Anthony, Austin,
That was a babysitter. She wanted a girl. She got one eventually. But in the meantime, she had me. And so me chuleaba, she did my hair. She took care of me. She took me places. She was wonderful. And so one day she was going to take me to church with her. They went to First Baptist in Brownsville. They were going to take me. So that was normal. I went to church with them. She said, Michelle, after church, do you want to go piquet with us? And I was like, yeah, that sounds nice. Because I thought, piquet, wow, it's fancy.
Wow. Is it appetizers?
No idea.
What is it?
I don't know. Yeah, it was like something, it was an hors d'oeuvre. Maybe it was a fine restaurant in Brownsville because there are so many. Or there were so many. And so I didn't know what it meant, but I knew it was fancy because she was white and they had money and she said piquet, right? So it had to be French. And I went home and I told my grandma, I was like, Mom, Linda wants me to go with them to do something fancy. So she got me a nicer dress and she went to Payless and she got me these white patent leather shoes. And I wore the knee socks because I was the bomb. And after church, Linda and the family took me with them to pick hay.
Bales of hay.
Bales of hay. We're going to pick them up as a family and we're going to put them on the truck and it's going to be fun. We're going to trudge through the mud. That's when I lost a shoe.
Hay, that shit is some hard work. I mean, I tried.
I've done some hard Mexican stuff before, but I've never picked hay.
It's heavy.
Yeah, so I learned. So I had zero cultural capital. I went into it thinking, oh, this is just something that white people do. It's so fancy. People with money pick hay all the time. Yeah. No, they were farm people who wanted help picking hay. And it was fun. It was a family event.
And it was little Mexicana.
Yeah, they didn't enlist me to it was not child labor.
We have help,
But I didn't know. I just assumed that it was a culture that I didn't understand.
Well, when I think about cultural capital, I think about it in terms of like my experience, and there's a lot of different things throughout my life that I look back and say, oh, examples of I should have known this, or I thought perhaps differently about things. But one of the things that comes to mind for me is this idea of higher education and trying to navigate it under different confines and different culture, right? And I remember at Tech, when I got to Tech, I got a roommate And it was like my junior year, and he was a really nice guy, and he and his family were well off. And I don't know that they're well off in standards of millions of dollars, but they had much more money in social and political and cultural capital than I did. And
Everybody had more money than I did.
and he nor his family ever treated me differently in terms of, taking care of us and making sure, and they were great to us. But I remember one of the things that was shocking and, really revealed to me a different side of higher education was the cashier's office. Right, when we were talking before we
I already
recorded.
know this story. Wait, it's hilarious.
When we were talking about this, right, and I had gone to community college before, and then I'd gone to tech, afterwards, and so I'd been at a university, and I didn't know what the hell a bursar cashier's office. What
Do y'all remember
what
that
that
word?
what that was?
Bursar.
I mean, I remember looking at it and thinking, I don't know if that's like a sheriff. Is that like the police office? Like, I didn't know what it was, right? But anyway, so he said we had to take
Nothing
a trip.
to see here. Nothing to see.
We had to go down to tech, and he needed to go to the bursar's office to pay something. And I thought, okay, maybe he's paying a parking ticket. He was known for getting boots on his truck all over tech because he disregarded laws. So I really thought we were going to the police station, right? And so we get there, and first of all, there's no line. Right, no one's there, and it's peak enrollment, like maybe 2 or 3 days before classes start, right? And so he said, "Hey, I'm here to pay for my classes." And the lady on the other counter looked it up, typed it in, and said it was going to be like $10,395. And I was standing behind him, and cultural capital. I'm thinking, don't react. So $10,000, that's cool. In my head, where the hell are you going to get $10,000 from, right? And so he had this sell tacos. I mean, something, right?
Sell my brother.
So he writes this blank check that's signed by his dad.
He did not write a check.
And paid for the transaction.
Oh my gosh, a checkbook. That would have blown my mind.
And I remember thinking to myself, we're in two different worlds, right? Because I didn't know people pay for college up front, right? I thought everybody got financial aid, right? You worked hard, you got a scholarship, and then you took out loans or you got some grants because you were so poor, and that's how we paid. And so, the cultural capital slapped me in my face that one instance in knowing that people have enough money to pay for this, right? That was a realization to me.
More than once.
Every semester.
He graduated, right?
He graduated, barely.
Imagine that.
But he graduated, and the time that we spent together, I really tried to educate him about being poor, right? Because I would say you're in transition in college.
You are.
Because you're poor. You know yourself as poor,
right? But
you're transitioning, right? Because you're eating the food in the dorms that other people are eating,
right?
You're eating things that you have not discovered. I remember discovering a whole bunch of food, right? The hell is this, right?
You're gonna think I'm dumb.
Why?
I loved raviolis.
Yes, we didn't
have raviolis in my house. We had fideo, right? We had caldo with cabbage. Yeah. So when I got to college, and I could buy food with my $60 that my dad sent to me every 2 weeks, I bought ravioli because that was yucky, right? But, I was something.
We still lived and still do live in some instances under the confines of a poor cultural capital.
Yeah, we do. Because I mean, Ruby Payne called it generational poverty.
Yeah.
It's your mindset.
Last month, Anna and I had ramen for dinner. And we were making ramen.
Yeah, but now it's fun.
It is fun, right? But we were thinking, do you remember? She said, I'd never had ramen until you taught me how to make ramen.
I get you.
Right. And it was so like, cute. Oh, ramen, right? These are the college days. But we were in transition. In college, you're in transition from the cultural capital of not having it, right?
Sure.
To learning it and understanding that there's a cashier's office, people pay for college.
Yeah,
that there's
with actual
all those
money.
Things, right? And so it's really interesting how that transition happens and you begin to learn. And even as a professional, right? Do you have any instances that you think about, as a professional, losing some cultural capital in the area of Latinx, Latino, Hispanic environment and gaining it in a, industrial environment, right? That's a little bit different than what you know. I mean,
yeah. I mean, we have rules. we have traditions. Yes, when we talked about them last episode, respeto and familismo and things like that. So, yes, we have what we know, our culture, and what we value, and we go into the workplace, academia, for us, and I apply those rules, and it doesn't work. So if my boss comes in and he's mad, and he doesn't say good morning, and he doesn't ask how my family is, what did I do wrong? You know, but it's the workplace. It's not my rules. It's not my relationship, my traditions. It's the workplace. It's a different form of communicating and being. And you learn that the hard way. I went to Achieving the Dream in Maryland.
Beautiful.
As an adjunct. I already had my master's. I had already been an assistant principal. I'd already succeeded, you know. But they picked me as an adjunct to my campus to go to Achieving the Dream in Maryland. And it's snowing. Blew my mind. And I remember feeling so inadequate at that conference.
Why?
Well, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what it was. And I was going from session to session, and it was very intimidating what people were talking about. Like, I was doing it. I was doing what they were talking about. But they were discussing it like theoretically, and does your campus and has your campus and my campus has. We've been doing it for years, and it was very, it was kind of like this, you know, like top that, you know, I'm going to do my breakdancing move and point to you. That's what it felt like, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't feel comfortable until the very end when they showed a video on first generation students.
And you related.
And then I got that. But I didn't understand, and I was already a success. I'd already done things. I was a mom, for crying out loud, but I still felt inadequate. I didn't know how to relate to people. I didn't know that that's what you do. You know, you discuss your programs. And how long have you been doing that program?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's interesting, you know, when I think of small things that are dumb, but that are cultural breakthroughs, right? Like when you think about going to conferences, most conferences at the end of conferences have a banquet, right? Have a gala, have an awards night, right? And how to eat properly, right? And for somebody who's fat, who likes food, right? Who likes carbs. I just ate 2 tortillas before this. She made some homemade tortillas.
Show them the bag.
You know, here's my bag. Anyway, like how do you navigate a round table of 10 people, right? That's
Don't do it with our rules.
And you have
don't do it with quinceañera rules. Okay?
Yeah, but you have to think about you have these forks and these knives, and you're like, okay, which one do I start with? You know, this looks like all the forks and knives. I have my whole house, right? They're right here, Mama. I found them, right? But then you think about like the centerpiece, right? You know, that would look really good. Tia would really like that. Tia Juana would really like that. But you can't take it, and it's to admire, right? And so these things that
Did you
have
even
to
ask if you could take it?
Of course I didn't ask.
You're
but
not supposed to ask.
It crossed my
in
mind.
that environment.
Right. Yeah.
But if you go to your cousin's quinceañera,
you'll
know what's going to happen with that centerpiece. What are you going to do?
I'm taking
when
it
you
home.
Get to the table, what are you going to do?
Calling it. That's
You're
mine.
going to call it.
Yeah, that one's mine.
Yeah.
That one's Tia Lola's. Yeah. That one's Tia Susie's, right? You got them all labeled and ready to go.
You make them so people can
take
them.
Home,
that's
right?
what we do.
And so it's
my mother-in-law made all of mine.
All of your centerpieces. Yeah. Right. So you think about these little things that are very different to you, right? Like, how do you get this? This blows my mind even today. How do you get the bread basket in the middle of the damn table without standing up and getting the bread?
But
right?
you know that's a rule.
It's
an etiquette rule. It's like an Emily Post
so
thing.
Much etiquette rules, and you think about like, hey, can you pass me the salt? It's right in front of you. Like,
I know.
Like, give me this.
You can't do that,
right? So
don't extend your arm.
Don't extend your arm.
Your arms must be much shorter.
But how do you
this
navigate?
culture?
How did you learn that?
Well, for me, this is interesting. I've never told you this. I was selected when I was a junior in high school or a sophomore at the end of my sophomore year to be part of the Lower Valley Cotillion Club.
Okay.
So we get the letter to my house. Somebody nominated me. I still don't know who nominated me.
Good nomination?
Yes. Okay. So the cotillion is nice girls.
Okay.
Smart girls. Girls who do the right thing and they behave and they do well in school and they're involved. And I was all of those things. But I was dirt poor. I was, hanging my clothes on the lasso because we didn't have a dryer and I never had hot water. So
Those
if it
clothes
was
are
cold,
hard as hell.
they are.
You go get them.
If it was cold, you had to boil the water for the tub. It was, I was
Yeah.
poor.
I was too.
So I didn't understand why they picked me to be part of cotillion. Because cotillion is you're going to be presented to society. You're going to go to all these etiquette classes. You're going to go to teas and you're going to learn these rules.
Sweet tea?
No, honey. Tea.
I know.
Tea. So, un cafecito, but with tea. And then at the end of the year, you're going to be presented to society in a white dress with gloves. And there are rules. 2 inches, okay? And you have floor length, no skin showing, and pearls only. Like, there were all these rules. And your father had to wear a tuxedo when he walked you out. My dad did this with me. The second year, you're there for the junior girls. So that's where I learned the rules.
Yeah. I learned it by failures, right? A lot of public failures that the looks of
Mira este.
Gordito, all hungry, todo,
So you got seconds?
So of
went
course
back
I got seconds. Where's
No.
the empty plates, right?
You don't go back for seconds.
But I was hungry. But you think about this, right? I mean, and in some instances, you just kind of learn. I remember I took a group of students to a conference in Austin, and it was for student government, community college student government, and we were there. And I had a group of first generation freshmen, right, that I took. And I was trying to give them the etiquette of the table and how to arrange this and before, right? And I said, you need to network, and this is how you network, and we're going to be around people, right? And so we got to the table, and we were all sitting around. And Chris Garcia, who is hopefully not watching this, but if he is, Chris, I love you, right?
You all know he keeps saying that.
Well,
I hope they're not watching.
I just hope they're not watching. And
what did you do in a past life?
No, but
¿Qué te van a hacer?
he was a great student, right? And I was trying to teach him how to network. And he was fit, good-looking young man, young Latino guy, and always had his hair pristine, and he was great. And we were at this round table, and there was probably 10 of us at a dinner table, and he wasn't networking. He was sitting there just eating his food, right? And so I leaned over to him and I said, hey, make sure you start networking with the guy next to you. And it was an older white man who probably was a sponsor for another community college. And I was so embarrassed. He leaned over to him and he said, hey, sir, can you network me over that roll?
No, he didn't. Oh, Jesus.
And all I could just do is keep eating, thinking, that's not what I meant.
Can you network me that roll?
Can you network me that roll over here? And the guy was like, I just passed him the biscuit, right? And Chris thought he had done his networking, right? And so the other guys at the table, Antonio and Eddie, like busted out laughing at him and gave him a hard time forever, right?
Oh.
But he had to learn his lesson. Now he's an engineer in Dallas, right?
Wonderful.
He's very successful. He's great. I keep up with him. But you think about like the cultural capital that wasn't there.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
right?
You don't get that training.
And he had to learn there, and he had to learn at the expense of 3 Mexicans making fun of him the rest of the trip.
Which is how we do things.
Right? The rest
that
of the
trip.
trip,
That is how you learn. We make fun of you.
is. That
is part of our culture. And think about that. Think about how when, as administrators and faculty, as professionals, that's comfortable for us. We pick at each other. We find the funny thing about you and we make it a joke.
Everything is
That's part of being a Latina is everything's funny. Everything's supposed to be funny.
Yeah, everything is funny. Because
why is everything funny?
Well, I don't know.
Because I'm sure inquiring minds want to know. Why are y'all laughing all the time? Why does your meeting sound like a party?
Well, that's a good question. Let me tell you today, we went downtown. This catering company invited some of us from my company downtown to go eat there.
Did you get seconds?
I didn't, but I really wanted it, right? And I'm on a diet, so I had turkey with no
that way
dressing,
you learn.
right? And the turkey was really good. But anyway, we were going downtown, and there was 4 of us that went, and we laughed all the way there. We laughed back, right? And halfway through, one of the guys said to me, I really like working with you because everything is so much fun, right? And I said, well, I'm just a fun person. What else can we do that's not fun, right? And I began to think about it. And one of the things that I think that it relates is that when we got together at home,
Mm-hmm.
with our cousins, everything was fun, right? And we laughed at everything. I mean, we
Why?
laughed. Why? Because I think it brings a sense of camaraderie, right? When I can make
Why
you
is
laugh,
that so important?
because it's an acceptance.
Keep digging.
It's acceptance, right?
Why
If I can
is
get you
sitting
to
around
laugh,
and talking and laughing, and yes, it is if you can make me laugh,
yeah,
you're something in my world.
yeah, and I can make people laugh,
Yes,
right?
you can.
So you think about,
y'all remember that he can eat salsa? Yes, that was good. I still laugh at that one.
I did too the other night, right? I did you get the YouTube the Snapchat last night from the guy sitting next to me at?
Yes. Oh my
I
gosh!
laughed
Don't
at myself.
ever do that again. I
I
wish I could
laughed at
show y'all,
myself.
but my phone is a timer. He sends me a Snapchat video of somebody's toes.
That look horrendous.
Bad toes, bad situation going on down there. And he sends me a picture of it, a video of it on Snapchat. Where were you?
At a swim lesson. Diego has swim
That
classes.
did not look like a swim place. That looked like a subway.
No, it was
like
a swim.
Nina Daniels in New York.
No, it was a swim
In the
place,
subway.
and the guy next
Filming
to me
people's feet.
had bad breath, and I was
Kick
like,
the
"Whew."
MS Daniel.
Ah.
Why are you
And then I
filming
looked
people's
down
feet?
and saw the feet, and I was like, "Ah!" Right?
And so he felt like he needed to send it to
Well,
me.
I needed to send it to somebody,
Yeah,
right?
But going back to it, like, why is this so valuable to us? You and I have something in common.
Because I think it's
Our
what
background.
we did with our families. It brings a sense of community and home,
It's all we could do.
right? I remember
We had
being
no
so
money.
poor.
Yes.
All we could do was gossip about the town things and make fun of people.
Right.
And I remember my older sister who passed, God bless her soul, we would sit and laugh and make fun of our tias.
Mm.
We would make fun of people in the neighborhood.
I never do that.
Right?
I never do that. Sandra, Sarah, Cleo, Christina.
That's a lie.
Sylvia.
And that's all we
never.
had, right? Was to make each other laugh, right? And that was our family. That was our community, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm always looking at someone's expense that I can joke from, right?
Yeah.
And
But that's
enjoy
not
it.
That's not okay in academia.
It's not. It's not. And I've had to
I mean, I'm making it okay.
I've had to learn it, right? There are so many jokes in meetings that I would just kill,
You're
right?
dying to jump
God, if these people could get this joke.
Yeah, I think we can be misunderstood because we have a tendency to laugh and we have a tendency to want to see the funny in it. But we are hard workers and we are serious and we are dedicated employees and we will work twice as hard because we've had to get where we are. So for students, what does that mean about their personalities and bringing their culture, but also understanding that there is cultural capital that they are going to have to learn?
Well, I think for them, it's to continue to explore the unknown.
Yeah.
And be comfortable at doing that, right? Continue to go to class and learn about subjects that you don't necessarily know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Enroll in the music class, enroll in the arts class, enroll in theater classes, and understand the history. I took a course on the history of rock and roll music as an elective.
But you like music.
Right, I did, but I didn't know anything about rock and roll.
But that's
my family didn't.
That's a great
didn't
example.
listen to the Beatles.
Yeah.
My family didn't listen. That wasn't. So I had to learn and kind of understand that.
And
right?
do it together.
Yeah.
I think of my old first gen president and vice president, Zara and Heidi. Neither one of them has, tremendous access to the higher culture, but they do things together.
Yeah.
And they learn it together. Zara's brave as anything. Heidi is crafty. She'll figure things out. And so they go downtown and they go do things and they figure things out.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it. I mean, it may seem intimidating. It may seem inaccessible, but access is there. I mean, you really have to embolden yourself, empower yourself, and talk positively to yourself, affirm yourself, and take a chance.
Yeah, and I think, when I think about it, it reminds me of how I got to be cultured. Right,
Mm-hmm.
and how I got introduced into this, and through Anna, I met my wife in college, and she shared that she was a Broadway fanatic. What's Broadway? What is all this? Right,
I knew it distantly.
Yeah, well, I
from books.
I didn't know it. I mean, I thought Broadway was theater.
I still haven't been to Broadway.
Right, you've never been to Broadway? We have to take.
I've never been to New York.
Wow, right? We went to New York on our honeymoon, poor as shit, right? But we went and kind of explored and fell in
Together.
love together.
Yeah.
Right. And so how do you do that, right? And how do you make sure that you continue?
Well, how does she do that with you?
Well, she invited a group of us in
Mm-hmm.
college to go see Rent, right? And if you know anything about Rent, it's uncomfortable, right? There's homosexuality, there's AIDS, there's death, there's New York culture.
So it's a lot of heavy things coming at you at the same time.
Yeah, and you have to interpret it and understand it and kind of have some emotional breakdowns, right?
Did you feel like you were getting it?
No, I was lost. I didn't know what was happening. First of all, I didn't realize that they were going to sing the whole damn thing. Right? So they started singing, and I'm like, okay, I'll just wait till the first song is over, and they start talking.
You didn't grow up watching Johnny Canales? I mean,
I
singing
did,
through the whole damn thing is part of our culture.
Take it away. So there was some interpretation.
There were interludes,
there, right?
yeah.
There was no interludes, right?
He gave you clues.
He did.
That this was good.
Right. Or this was bump it onto the commercial, right? Commercial.
You didn't have any cultural. You didn't have any cues.
No.
For your behavior.
And so after the first show, I remember having an intellectual conversation with her and saying, they never really talked. And she was like, no, the whole thing is done through songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, shit, I was waiting for them to stop singing so I could hear them talk, right? And it's like the first time I went to the Nutcracker with her.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that the Nutcracker is a ballet, which means that there's no conversation,
right?
It's all interpretive dance. And so here I was watching March of the Sugar Plum Fairies, right? Mm-hmm. Famous march. And wondering, when are they going to talk? Right? They're not. It's all interpretive, right?
It's communication. Yeah.
So
I've been to that, but no, I haven't had that. And I think I have a background in theater, so I do understand it. But I think it's important that you say what you're saying, because I think a lot of our students, first generation students, Latinx students, students of other cultures, because poverty has had a grip on us, we have become accustomed to not thinking beyond.
Yeah.
Not exploring, not considering. And once you get to college, there really is that sense of freedom.
There is.
Where you can explore, because we have means to help you explore.
Yeah.
We have ways to get you involved so that you can experience these things. So, but the science and the research says that we don't get involved on college campuses.
Yeah.
We go to school and we go home because our community
needs us back home.
Capital. Our relationships are at home. We understand that. Yeah. And it's fun. One of the studies that I told you about says that for Latinx learners and first generation learners from poverty, it's a take it or leave it kind of thing with higher ed sometimes.
Yeah. We don't need it.
Not necessarily to be successful, because if I turn out, this is what a student is thinking, if I turn out like my dad, and I have a beautiful wife, and I have great kids, and I own my home, and I go to work every day, and I make enough money, and I have Sundays with my family, and we do things together.
Go to the pulga.
How is that?
I've made it.
I know. How is that not awesome?
And it is.
It is awesome.
It is.
I mean, that was my upbringing. But so then to us, to administrators and faculty and people in student services, your job for engaging the Latinx learner is twice as hard.
It is.
Because you have to build the relevance. You have to build the vision.
Yeah.
You have to take them from access to success.
Yeah.
And those are two very different things. Access means...
And you're doing it to a population that...
Right. May not
really
value,
care.
Not because they don't value what higher ed is going to give.
Right.
It's just because it's competing with something that is terrific. Family, culture, identity, comfort. So.
And even once those students, us, navigate it, right, and complete the degree, it's then going back into your work environment.
Sure.
Especially for us higher ed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then taking the education, taking the cultural competence that you have learned thus far, and adapting it to a new industrialized kind of environment, right? And talking about the things that we've talked about. I'm loud at work. My meetings look like parties, right? I laugh a lot, right? There's pranks and jokes everywhere, right? I'm going to pick on you. I'm going to make sure everybody knows if you make a mistake.
You're going to send me videos of somebody else's feet swim class because their toes are messed up.
Right. And I'm going to say, eat ass, right? So think about that and how, that navigates. And I mean, think about experiences. Have you had experiences where that our culture, what we know and what we are, has negatively impacted you in higher ed, right? You've had to defend it. You've had to explain it. You
Yeah.
maybe not, but have taken some ramifications from it, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm loud. I laugh a lot like you.
Mm-hmm.
I smile all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sometimes think people think I'm just ditzy. And because I don't believe in withholding a compliment, I compliment people very easily. It's comfortable for me. So it doesn't matter who you are, whether it's via text, whether it's via email, via LinkedIn. If I see something in you in person that is worthy of a compliment and I thought it, I have to say it. I have to say it. It's like ojo. I have to touch your baby. I'll touch his toes so I don't give him ojo. My personality demands that I do that. And so I think people believe that I'm disingenuous, that I'm not nice, really, that I'm being fake. And so my friend Holly from my doctoral cohort sent me a message just the other day saying, I really appreciate that you compliment people and that you put up other women and you support people. And I really like that about you. Like, she knows it's really me.
Yeah.
She knows that.
But that's who you are.
Yes. And so in higher ed, I mean, we don't just go around giving each other compliments.
No, we actually bring
We
each other
do not tell each other all the time. I mean, I do. But other people don't feel comfortable complimenting people in the workplace, in academia especially.
Yeah.
You know, I read scary stories about people stealing each other's research and undermining each other for promotions, and that's not how we roll.
No, it's not. But you know, I think about my career, short-lived career, my life, my professional environment.
You're only 28.
I'm only 28, right? So you think about how short that's been, and I think about some of the failures I've had, right, and some of the explaining I've had to do about my culture, who I am, and what I bring to the table, counter to anything that they see.
And do you do that apologetically?
No, unapologetically. I am who I am, and you're going to hire me for who I am. And if you don't like me, I can go and you can go. Deuces, your way, my way. But you're going to regret losing me.
Did you say deuces?
No.
I had no idea you were such a serious person. Well, no. I had no idea you were such a clown.
What do you mean?
It was the opposite. Because I met you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, but I'm a clown.
I know, but not on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
on LinkedIn, you are the consummate professional. But oh my God, all of your posts are perfect. They are, I mean, it's like your hair and your posts are one. Your hair is perfect and your posts are perfect. But it is all high level shit. Literally.
But that doesn't mean that I can't laugh.
No, when I met you, I was like, oh my gosh, he's my brother from another mother. Like, seriously. So I think it's interesting because for you at work, it's the opposite. You know, they see the jokester, but they don't understand sometimes that you work twice as hard as everybody else.
I think they understand when they see the results.
Oh, sure.
But I think there are a lot of people who
sweet
are scratching their head.
But we don't want to count that, you know? We don't want to have that negative energy.
But it's okay. And that confidence comes from experience. It doesn't come from, you know, a place of
pompous,
right? It is that I've done this before. I've done it at multiple places.
Right.
You either want me to do it and I can do it exceptionally well. And I'm going to laugh and I'm going to be loud and I'm going to be Daniel.
But Daniel, we've survived much worse.
We have.
We've come through so much worse. So a project.
That we have.
It's nothing.
Check. On to the next thing.
Yeah. All you PhD people out there stressing over it.
Yeah.
It's just a project.
It is a project.
It can be done.
But it's a long, gruesome project. But it's a project. So how do we wrap this up? How do we tighten the bow and say
so
thank
we're
you to our followers?
we're gonna do our grito, and we're gonna thank our followers, and we're going to be doing a subscriber drive pretty soon.
Yeah. Hopefully
we want to become an
100.
official channel. Yes.
Right? So 100 subscribers.
But yeah, we want to do our grito. And our grito is someone that I talked about to my students today in class. And it is for Dr. Robert Vela, who is, do you know him?
Yeah, he's out at the Alamo Community College System, and I think San Antonio College president.
Yes, San Antonio College president. And he let me interview him for my dissertation last summer. And I needed 30 minutes, and he gave me an hour and a half just being a mentor, an advisor. He's sharing the inner workings of the presidency and the Higher Education Coordinating Board, and just, he was amazing.
Yeah.
And he said something to me as he was discussing his, ascension through the ranks of higher ed. Clever dude. He said, and how he did things. He wasn't afraid to walk away when he needed to walk away.
And sometimes you need to run away.
You do. And so he valued himself. And that's why he did the things he did, is he knew his own worth. But he said to me, demand excellence for yourself. And so I told my students that today, because I told them, you're going to go through your classes and you're going to see professors who may not connect with you, or they may not be teaching experts, they're content experts. You're still going to demand excellence from them, okay, to teach you the way that you need to be taught, or to help you a little bit more than they help others. And so I was talking about Dr. Vela because that has stuck with me. I use it everywhere I go. It's a mantra in my head. Demand excellence for yourself and of yourself. So thank you, Dr. Vela. You are a mentor and a friend, and I think you have even interacted with him.
Yeah, I've met with him. I was in San Antonio randomly for one of a conference with my wife and emailed him, said I'm going to be in town. Can I stop by to visit with you? He gave me an hour of his time.
So awesome.
Talked to me about my profession, higher ed, my resume, what I needed to look at.
You did that
just
for me.
Out of the blue, right? I just emailed him, thank you. Thank
You
you for
did that for
allowing
me.
me to do that, though.
Yeah.
You're asking, right?
But that's what we have to do.
That's exactly what we have to do. And I'm going to see him at Haku next week, so I'm
Awesome.
really excited.
He's the president, yes?
Of Alamo Community College?
No, Haku?
No, he's one of the mentor fellows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Very
I'm
good.
really excited.
I'm going to get there.
To be interacting with him next week and get to share this video.
Good. Tell him I said hi.
Enjoy. Thank you all for joining us. We have one final message: like, subscribe, and share our video, and we'll see you in the coming weeks.
Have a great night.